There's another one flying out here. Pretty colors. Look at this. There we go. We finally got a good shot. Here's another wide view of him coming by like that. Look, we're getting closer, closer, a little bit more. And there it is, right there. Okay, almost a good profile, like a perfect profile. Not quite, he's still looking away, but look at that. Great, great light in there. Good light in the eye. I can see the whole bill shape. The light is just beautiful the way it's shaping in there, and it's early enough that it's soft. So I'm going to slowly, cautiously move up just a little bit. See how slow I'm moving now? Really watching his behavior, making sure he stays with eating. Now, I want you to take notice of that reflection in the water. See how bright it is? But look at the edge of it. See how insanely bright it is when it's in the middle? But watch this. We go vertical, put him right on the edge of the frame there. Wait for the head position to come up each time he lifts. That's what I'm shooting. And then we get that. Hey, good morning, everyone. So, just wrapped up shooting with the Snail Kites out here. What a fun time. This was morning 3 out here at this particular spot, and I gotta say, overall, probably the worst morning for conditions, unfortunately. But the last 2 mornings were much calmer. The biggest problem today was actually the wind. The light was pretty amazing, as you saw. Had a nice fog layer that burned off. The sun came through pretty quickly, but gave me some really good quality light. But yeah, this wind, it made the surface of the water no good. So, as you saw, I did some eBird research and found some spots for snail kites near where we were staying, up in Gainesville, Florida here. All right, everyone, let's do some eBird research. Okay, so eBird.org, that's where you're going to go. I find doing the research on the website always better than using an app or something like that. As far as I know, eBird doesn't have their own app, which is kind of odd, but there's other birding apps that connect to eBird and can show reports, but there's a lot more that I'm looking for when I'm searching, so I basically just go to the website every time whenever I'm doing the research, unless I happen to be out on the road and I can't get to a computer. So, we're going to Florida. That's where I'm going to be. I already know that. And I'm after snail kites. So I'm just going to go to Explore Species here and choose snail kite. So that was, you click on the Explore tab first and then do that. All right. My next move is to usually just go right to this large range map. So the range map is listed here. I go to the large map. And then I'm just going to zoom in on the area that I'm going to be. So if we go here, I was going to be near Gainesville, Florida. There's Gainesville. And here we go. Okay, so the first spots I started to see were this whole area. You can see it's just surrounded by reports there. The red usually indicates something that's more recent, and the blue are older reports. So I start with the more recent. And I basically just start clicking around here and seeing how many sightings and when. So I was there in the early January, so these weren't current sightings, but these were there. Look, 35. On that one, but this is just the generic state park, so I'm not sure exactly where that is. Then we got this trail. Look, somebody just got 17 the other day, which is really high, but look at all the other numbers, a little bit lower there, but still 5 reported there, although that looks like a group, all the same people, right? Because the same day and the same number. Okay, so that was there. Then we got this spot down here. And they're actually listing the trail, so you can see a couple of them there, 2 and 3. And I gotta say, in the past in Florida, when I've been scouting and looking for and shooting snail kites, 1 to 3 is a good number. That's usually what I'm finding. So this has restricted access, so can't do that. And then I think this one, yeah, this was the Cones Dyke Trail out at this preserve, this state park. So it's Paynes Prairie State Park, or Paynes Prairie Preserve State Park. And I was seeing this stuff. I was seeing this reports of, actually, I guess, let me go before January here, or the beginning of January. This is what I was seeing, right? These early numbers of 5 reported there, 3 to 6 in early December. So I'm like, man, that's some good numbers. And whenever they say a dike trail, I figured that's like a trail that goes out into the marsh. It's elevated. It should be really good. So that's what I was thinking. Because this trail here also had some reported, but I looked on the state park map and it was a really short trail, But in any case, there was some around there. And then there was this spot over here. So I clicked on this one and earlier in the month, I'll show you. Look at these reports. 10, 9, 10, 75, which that seems like a bit of a high number, but in any case, just tons of them reported right there. And then even down along here, I think there was some really good numbers, but this was the main one right here. And it's labeled as the observation deck. And so that seemed good, but this is what kept me away from it. You can see it's right by the road there. So I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, this is just a dock that you walk out on. You know, you're standing right by the road. That's not good. When I looked at this, and by the way, I'm always in the satellite view. I think you can change that. Oop, where can you change that? Here we go. There's terrain, street, satellite, and hybrid. I use the hybrid so I can see the roads, but I want to see the satellite view. I want to see what the habitat looks like. This one had an observation tower. Again, I wasn't too keen on that, but I think this was the one. Oh, that's the restricted access. Here we go. Here's the dike trail, right? And if you look on the map, you can see, look at this. You can see this trail. It goes out here and then along this. So look, it looks like you're walking way out in the marsh and then maybe even going out this way and further in, right? So that to me was like, oh, that's probably going to be the win. That's going to put me out in the habitat in an area with the birds. Hopefully I can get lower, have a little bit more freedom of movement. And that's where I went first. But as you'll see in the rest of this video that I'll cut back to in a second, I saw a couple there, but not many. Not good for photography. As far as the birds, it was too vast and there weren't enough of them. And the local told me to go over to this spot. So after we explored this, we decided to check it out, and turns out that was the spot. Now, a bunch of other people had told me to check out this specific spot over here, the Lachua Trail. And again, look at the numbers there, but I just never had time to get over there. That, however, looks like something that would be a little bit more ideal. Look, you got a trail here going along, not a big highway. So that is an area that I certainly would explore during my next visit. And then you also have this park over here, which I think if we look at the main park, has some decent numbers. Not as high as the other spots, but there's some numbers there. So that's another place to check out, because it looks like you got some roads that you can either drive or walk along and go out along the edge of the marsh there to hopefully see and photograph these birds. So yeah, this trail, look, it goes way out there. I totally missed that. That was a mistake on my part, and I should have gone over and checked it out while I was there. So anyway, that's how I do the eBird research there. It's looking for a lot of those numbers, looking at the satellite view and that sort of thing. Back to the setup video. The first spot I picked, I actually saw the spot on here and it had the highest number of snail kites, but I could see it was right next to a highway, so it wasn't my first choice. So I went to the other spot that had some decent numbers reported, and me and Emily went there the first morning, and while there realized that I think we saw 3 of them there, but they're all really far away, and the access to that habitat wasn't really good. So the count of birds, snail kites there from eBird were probably more from like birders. You know, it was a good birder spot. So you can get decent numbers, but photography-wise, no good at all. And that happens a lot with eBird, and that's the challenge with eBird, is a lot of times you can find great numbers of species, or even if it's not great numbers, you can find consistent numbers of the species you're after, but it doesn't always mean it's going to be good for photography. So anyway, while there, we passed by another photographer and just chatted with him real quick, and he was kind enough to share that this particular spot was like the spot for snail kites. So after we shot there the first morning, we drove over here. It was later in the morning, like 11 o'clock we got here, but there's a palm warbler right over here on the ground, which is funny. But that day, it was pretty much fog all day and like overcast. So we were able to shoot even at 11 o'clock and got some great stuff, and it was dead calm. So you can see the water over here is really rippling. And as you saw, the one disadvantage of shooting at this spot is we're elevated. So I can't get that water level perspective that I'd love to get when we're working with birds in and around the water. It's okay for flight shots up higher because we're just shooting out eye level with them, which is fine. But anytime they're going down and hitting the water, if we have ripples on the water like this, to me, it just looks like crap. It does not look good, and you saw most of my flight attempts this morning just didn't work great. There was a couple earlier in the morning that I think might be okay. We'll see when we actually cull through the photos. But overall, very challenging shooting down. But here's the caveat. When it's really dead calm and the water is just like glass, it's like a mirror, and even from being higher, you get these beautiful reflections. So my first 2 mornings out here were completely great because of that calm water. So something to pay attention to if you're shooting a location like this where you know you're going to be shooting down on your subject with water. If you can get a calm day, you can totally make it work. So that was the challenge today, but the light today was probably the best. This was the first morning out here that I actually had some direct sunlight to play with, so I was able to do some stuff with that. You'll see we got some really cool silhouettes of the snail kite when he finally hit a natural perch out there. I was able to do some more scenic foggy things, some closer stuff, some silhouette right in the sun, that sort of thing. So I played around with that. Also got some incredible close-ups. There's this one male snail kite that is just, I think he's just used to people. This dock that I'm out on right now is just a nice observation platform. People come here to just kind of look out and check out the scenery, watch sunrise, sunset, that sort of thing. So I think because this is his territory, he's just used to people, so he's not skittish at all, which is really amazing. And it means you can walk right up to that bird, and as you saw, like you'll see the last shot I got today during the shoot was just a straight up headshot. Strong light, but quality light. And it's just going to really make his eye pop. The colors, the green and blue from the water in the background are going to look amazing. So totally got some really good stuff. So here's the lesson today that I want to make sure I get across from you guys, which is do a little bit of research. Don't be afraid to talk to people. You can always get some really good intel from local photographers. You never know the experience level of photographers though. So sometimes you get some people that say, oh, this is an amazing spot, and you go there and it's just, again, not good for photography. So it's always worth keeping in mind, especially if somebody's sending you really far, you know. But in this case, it was 15 minutes from where we had been shooting in the morning, so it was an easy stop to check out. And as soon as we came here, we saw the number of snail kites and the opportunity and knew it would be great. So yeah, I did the eBird research, talked to the locals, then went to the spot, noticed that it was going to be really good, and came back here 3 mornings in a row. So now I have a nice portfolio of these snail kites, all from these 3 mornings. And yeah, it was really worth the visit. This is the best spot I've ever found in Florida to photograph snail kites from land. I know there's places that people do it from boats a lot, but I don't have access to that. And yeah, this was just, I mean, this spot is incredible. It's a guarantee for getting snail kites, which is really cool. And yeah, it worked out wonderfully. So that's it. I hope you enjoy this shoot. A little bit challenging. There's a lot of, I wasn't real stable on this. There's going to be a lot of kind of spinning around, panning around. So I apologize. Hopefully it doesn't make you too dizzy. But the nature of shooting here is you kind of have to keep your head on a swivel and be working around and looking around, I should say, and waiting to find that bird flying. So anyway, thanks for joining me for the snail kites. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the shoot. All right, so today, something a little different. We got some birds in flight. I haven't done, I don't think, any of that yet. And these snail kites were great for that. So there's something I want you to pay attention to throughout this entire shoot, and that is the shutter speeds, especially in the low light, earlier morning flight stuff. And take notice when you look at the culling, even the stuff I don't keep, how sharp it is at these lower shutter speeds. Okay, so I started early in the morning. The sun hasn't even come up yet. Look at this sky. It was stunning. But it's funny. The wide angle definitely shows more color than actually was there. But here we go, 500th of a second. Trying to get some of them heading down like that. The conditions on this day were not the best. We had wind, or I had wind. Everybody else there had wind too. The previous couple of days did not have wind. So you can see here how the water's a little bit choppier. So I did hang out in this particular cove because look off to the left here. It's a little bit more mellow and a little bit calmer. I would have loved to have shot out to the right towards where the sun was more, especially when they were feeding, but generally they don't feed that way too much, and the water was really ripply. All right, so here I got an ibis cruising by. So I am using the 3D tracking for the most part on most of these. You can see it's working quite well, especially with these big slow-moving birds like these snail kites. He's a little too far away, didn't bother taking any of the shots, but it did swoop down and grab one, which is pretty cool to see. And then you can see it just kind of flying off into the distance there. And basically what I did was just hang out on this one dock where they were flying all around and feeding. What I was trying to get a lot of times is when they were flying out in front of the sky, I really wanted to get these silhouettes. Like look at that spinning down there, just trying to get that. What I didn't end up liking was all the ripply water in the end, so I didn't keep them. But I was able to get that, and they were sharp, 500th of a second. It's far away, kind of slow moving. You know, the closer the bird gets, the more it's kind of coming past you, so you definitely need a little bit higher shutter speeds. But also, my ISO was already up pretty high there at that point. All right, I wanted to revisit this view just to show you something that's important, and I stopped it here because when you're shooting birds this small in the frame, it's so important to pay attention to the scene. It's all about the scene here. Look what we have. Look in the wide view. Tons of space, no distracting background, nice and clean, beautiful colors, a foggy atmosphere. Lots of this works. Look how it translates through that wide angle or the telephoto view. When you're looking through the lens, I went vertical to show more of that color because it's prettier that way when the color goes up higher, and the bird is in the right spot there. That's the other important part. Where's the visual distraction in this image? If you're looking through the telephoto lens view, it's at the bottom third there. The dark bushes, not too bad, but the water, very ripply and distracting. And if we actually look, let's cut to a view where the bird flew down into the water. You can see already how the bird does not stand out as much. So I went with a vertical composition, minimized as much of the bottom distraction stuff as possible, show more of the pretty color at the top, and then hope and wait for the bird to fly up there. Now, none of these shots really worked out great for me because what I really wanted was a better position from the bird, and it didn't fully give me that, but the thinking behind this process is what I wanted to share with you guys. That's what I wanted to reiterate and show you. You got to pay attention to that. You can't just shoot small in frame and hope it's going to work out. The conditions, the lighting, but most importantly, the location have to be conducive to that type of shot. It has to work that the bird can stand out even this small in the frame. I mean, look, that bird is fitting inside the focus box, okay? It would fit inside that little green box. It's really small in frame, but if it turned and flared the right way, it's going to stand out wonderfully and show nicely, and it's going to work. So just keep that in mind if you're ever going to go try and shoot these sort of small in frame things, that it's really important to have the right conditions, the right amount of space, and that bird be placed in an area where it's going to stand out and be in a good position to show off that bird, that species, and make it be all about that bird in the end, even if it's small in frame. All right, so now I got one flying right in front of all the cars, so he's already got a snail, just tracking him across there, not taking any of their shots because it's a mess. But he did go over here and land. So it's really hard to see in the GoPro footage, but basically all this junk down here, all this kind of branchy stuff, that's where the snail kite lands. So it's kind of a mess. Look at this. It was really dark. Look at that, 80th of a second at 2500 ISO, and I struggled to focus. Also, take note of that background. See the white water at the top? It's not good. That fixed it. Getting a little higher and shooting down cleaned up that background. At this point, I was just trying to capture the behavior because I thought it was cool. You can hear the traffic racing behind too. But he is just kind of in a mess there, you know? I could not find an opening. I really tried to look, folks, moving left and right, trying to find it. It just wasn't there. I was capturing these just in case they were cool, but in the end, it just kind of looked like it was swallowing down a gross snail and not that pretty, so didn't bother keeping it. I went vertical, trying to minimize some of the distractions on the left and right. It helped a little bit, but not a ton. You can see it's just messy with the frame. There's just a lot of foreground stuff. The background's not bad, and the lighting is a little tough. There he goes. Took off eventually. You can see him flying out towards the dock there. There you go. I'm tracking him out towards the dock. You can see another photographer tracking him coming in towards them. And then I'm back out on the dock. There's another one flying out here. Pretty colors. Look at this. There we go. We finally got a good shot. Let's revisit this one more time. Look at that shutter speed, 500th of a second. That is enough to get a sharp photo when he was flying at me. Now, when he turns and goes by that close, it's not going to be enough shutter speed. So I could have bumped it up a little bit more there. Here's another wide view of him coming by like that. So flying in head on, it's okay. Flying sideways, not so much. You want a higher shutter speed. He did end up landing right here. I tried to minimize the railing and take advantage of that sky. Look at that pretty sky back there. So here I am creeping in on him. He was just kind of chilling there. He's really used to people. A little bit of positive exposure comp, not much though. And then he took off. He didn't go far though. It's not like I was chasing him all over. He just goes down and lands in another spot on the railing. This bird is very acclimated to the people there. So I wandered down again. I wanted to try and see if I could like basically just kind of scoot by him and get on the other side, but I realized it was too close. I'm looking at the colors in the background there. A little bit of positive exposure compensation to get it better, but see how it's busy? I got to get lower. Okay? There's just like all those islands out there basically. So I tried to get in just a little bit closer. I pushed too far for sure. He went out, but all he did was go right out here and feed. Check it out. There you go. So it's definitely not something that I'm bothering these birds with. And I want to reiterate that. This is an acclimated bird. You're able to kind of get a lot closer. If this was a more wild bird, I would never be pushing that close and like bumping the bird and making it bump. At this point, I was using auto ISO, so I'm going to set my minimum shutter speed up to 800th of a second instead of 500 because I noticed my ISO was starting to come down. Okay? So if you're just shooting manual, time to get the shutter speed up a little bit. And you can see, look, it's starting to hang up a little bit higher because there's a little bit more light. But the ISO is still pretty far up there. This actually would have been a really good morning to shoot a 2.8 lens, you know? But I wanted to shoot something that a little bit more of you have. And so here we go. Trying vertical, trying to get more of that color, that gradient in the sky. Anytime they dive down, it's not pretty though. Great lesson in this view. Watch through the viewfinder. Look how busy and distracting that background is. Let's go back and pause that. All right, take note. I got him nice and sharp, great wing position, good light, but the background sucks. Ignore the man-made stuff at the top. Even just the natural stuff below it, he's too close to that. So you have to have separation. Unless that bird was a lot closer to me, then that would work. This exact same shot, if that bird was half the distance closer to me, then the background would be more out of focus. I'd have better separation and this shot would work. Also it'd be bigger in the frame. But even if he was the same size in the frame, if I had a background much, much further away, this same shot would totally work. So that's important to pay attention to, especially with birds in flight, but in any kind of bird photography. And I know it's even tougher with birds in flight because it's like, well, I can't control where they go. I can't really move and change my background, but you can pick spots that maybe have better odds for a good distant background, or you just have to be patient and wait for them to fly into the right spot. And that's a big part of the challenge of birds in flight. It's not just getting the bird sharp and in focus and clear and close. It's everything else that has to line up. So this is really what I'm looking for, these flying out towards this pretty sky silhouette stuff. I basically needed a bird to go in the right spot. So that's what a lot of this bird in flight stuff is. It's just a waiting game. Look at this, beautiful colors out there. I fired off a few of those. I missed that one as it went down. But yeah, the colors on this side were pretty spectacular. You can see a little bit of that pink reflecting in the water there, like shining in there. All right, here we go. We got the male coming back towards us. Anytime I miss him, I'm just letting go, refocusing again. Okay. But the 3D tracking is generally staying on the bird quite well. There you go, he's cruising right across. If you're on a DSLR, you're going to want to use a group focus point. There we go. Swinging right down for another grab. Got a little bit more shutter speed this time. ISO's creeping up. Look at him right over. Again, watch this. Here's the grab. I'm just going to show you guys the wide view. Watch where this bird flies. Look how close. Right over top. So I was shooting those just hoping something would come out. Now he's flying away. I stopped shooting. But DSLR users, you definitely want to use a group of focus points, okay? One focus point is tough to track anything, but a group of focus points is good. If you have a mirrorless camera, one of the automatic tracking methods is great for birds in flight like this, as you can see. All right, he's back on his perch. This time I got some sun. So let's see what we can do, see if there's any possibility of getting anything with sun. The light is definitely better. The focus is working better now. It's actually doing the eye tracking. He's pretty close here, but I could have used a little bit more focal length to just kind of zero in on the bird. In the end, I have to end up cropping in the shot I want. But watch, I'm going to really work this scene because I got some light happening now. You can see the sun has risen. It's starting to burn through the fog. So paying attention to this background, shooting down onto the vegetation because I don't want to get that light water in the background. It's just going to be too distracting. And you also see that white spot. I don't even know what it, I think it's just an opening in the vegetation there. I'm trying to hide that the whole time. I'm also trying to worry about these branches in the foreground. And I'm waiting for eye contact. Listen, every time it gives me eye contact, that's when I'm shooting, okay? So you can see where I'm at. I'm right by the road here. I'm going to try and switch to shooting backlit. Let's see if we can find something, because the light is amazing. So I was going to look and see if I could find a little hole to shoot through. It's just kind of busy. I found the hole, but look at it. It's a mess. If the vegetation was prettier, this would be beautiful. Look at the light. So now I get my shutter speed down lower, ISO lower. I'm just shooting portraits. So I'm trying to keep the ISO low. That's why I'm down at this, 250 to 400th of a second. And it's going to give me the dynamic range with a lower ISO that I would need to edit that. I didn't end up liking any of the shots, so it was a waste. But I was trying it there, right? Instead of just always staying in the same spot. Move around, look around, see what you can find. That's important. So back to the side. I determined that the other side was just not happening. I did end up, watch this. I'm going to go vertical, and I actually end up lifting the camera up and holding it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the wide view here, but I hold the camera up and use the flip screen on it just to try and get a different perspective, see if I can clear some of that stuff out. Here we go. Let's watch this again. So there, camera's way up. Let's see what it looks like through the viewfinder. See, now I have a branch behind his head, so not much better. It cleared out some of the foreground stuff, but I have a mess in the background. Plus, it's really hard to compose like this. Just looking at that flip screen. All right, so back to just the standard shot here. So I keep coming back to the same thing, and that just means there's not much better. So watch the light. This is really important, guys. See how that light is coming in on his face right there when he turns just right? Watch, you're going to see it again, and I'm going to get a shot of this. If he turns his head too close towards me, the head falls in shade. Okay, so look, now he's looking to the left, no light on the face. Okay? Let's watch. We need him to swing his head around to the right. More like this. Keep going, bird. Come on. There we go. Now he's looking too far away. I want a little bit more. There's like a sweet spot. He's still going to be looking away because of the direction of the light, but it's a little bit more connecting. Here we go. We're getting closer. I'm waiting for it. I'm just holding the shot, waiting for the head movement. There it is. See that? Look at the light in the eye. And watch. There we go. Okay? Not direct eye contact, but close enough, and some amazing dramatic light there. All right, and then off he goes, flying away. I want to talk about this again. There he goes. I want you guys to really pay attention to this. When you're shooting this strong dramatic light, it is so important to get just the right head angle. And he's going to turn his head in there. See that? Not quite enough. And then watch. We're just going to watch this sequence again. Look, we're getting closer, closer, a little bit more. And there it is, right there. Okay? Almost a good profile, like a perfect profile. Not quite. He's still looking away, but look at that. Great, great light in there. Good light in the eye. I can see the whole bill shape. The light is just beautiful the way it's shaping in there, and it's early enough that it's soft. If I did that same thing when it was later light or stronger light, it would not look the same. The shadows would be too harsh. The highlights would be too bright. I wouldn't have that soft transition between the two. So early morning or late evening light is key to shooting this style of lighting. Now, in a second, I'm going to show you a screen grab from when he turned his head slightly too much towards me. And look at the difference here. See that? Look how there's no light in the eye or on our side of the face. So there's a little bit of a glow there from the sun, but at this point, it's great because I have the eye contact, but there's no light in the eye. And to me, that's a loss. That is not a shot that is going to be a winner because I don't have the light in the right place, and he turned his head too far towards me. All right, we're back out on the dock. Let's see what we can do here. At this point, I'm thinking it's all silhouette. And then I found another bird flying, so forget that guy. All right, he's flying away, flying away. No point in taking these shots. Coming across out into the light. Just looking around. There we go. And say I actually missed that. I don't know what happened to me there. I totally got distracted with something else and missed it flying right through the sun there. I should have been all over that. Here we go. Let's see. He's looking like he's really hunting. Let's see if it's going to go down and swoop for a catch. Maybe. Yep, there we go. But bad lighting and very ripply water, so I didn't bother taking a shot. I know it's not going to look great. Even though that moment was wonderful, if that was calm water, oh, I would have been all over that because I would have had the reflection. Even though the light was challenging. All right, here we go. We got something else flying out there. I don't know if that was a snail kite or not. We got him on the railing again. See that? Down quite a ways. So here's the key with this for me. Always put the lens as close as you can to the railing. Look at this, right on the railing. And look, see how it minimizes the railing as much as possible? And it makes it all about the bird. So still a little too far away. Going to creep in a little bit more. Every time he looks away, I was like creeping in. And he looked at me. It was like playing the red light, green light game, right? There we go. Nice light. I think I caught the car in the background of that one. He's got the snail in his talons. Check that out. So look, he looked away, moving just a little bit more, and then wait. Now he's feeding. Definitely be careful. You don't want to push them too far, especially if they're like in the middle of feeding, right? Be careful, guys, with stuff like that. So I'm moving in, but getting lower. Actually, I didn't move in at all. I just got lower. I was trying a different perspective from the side of the railing to see if I could minimize it even more. And watch, I'm going to compose him. I'm just going to clip the right side so it's like minimized. He ate the snail there. Beautiful light. Background, not the best. But the lighting is so nice, I think I can get away with it. So I'm trying to get closer to get that background a little softer. That kind of clump behind him. There we go. Look at that light. And there we go. We got this shot. Nice light. Not the best background, but the light is worth it. All right. Try and creep a little bit closer. Went vertical. Just to kind of, again, minimize as much as I could. And then off he flies to go get more snails. Because that's what he does. Actually, I guess he just went to get another perch. He probably had enough of me. So I am going to head over there, but this time I'm going to keep a distance. Like I said, again, you know, if you're even with an acclimated bird, right? You just, for me, I don't want to be constantly pushing the bird. If it gets nudged and moves a little bit, it's not too big a deal, but I don't want to do that over and over and over again because then I'm really going to be stressing this bird out. And look at this lighting. From far away, really cool lighting. I don't love the pose with whatever he's doing, like hanging his wings there. I don't know if he's like drying himself out or what that is. I'm not too familiar with the species, so I don't know exactly what they do and why they're doing that. But check out this background. So here, I'm just going more for a silhouette. Watch the placement of where I'm placing him in that horizon line back there, right? So trying to keep him in that fog line. And in fact, I should lift up a little bit more just so that one little tree line isn't kind of intersecting. But we're also waiting for a good profile there, okay? So I want a profile because it's a silhouette. I don't love the stuff that he's perched on there. It's a bit sloppy and messy, but I can't do anything about that. So I can, however, play with putting the sun in the background, zooming out a little bit wider there. Shutter speed is getting way up there, as you can see, 32,000th of a second. And then just waiting for a profile. Then I'll try and zoom in a little bit more, and we'll fire off some of those. This is what it looks like from the wide view. And then I just went a little vertical there. And then we're just waiting for that profile, because that's important. But look how messy it is at the bottom. That's the challenge there, you know. If it was a cleaner perch, it would be so much nicer. So I'm going really dark here, dropping the ISO down, just doing some negative exposure compensation, even increasing the aperture at times. And I'm basically just shooting straight into that sun. Just trying to get something interesting. Here we go. We'll go wider, and then we get a shot like that. He stands out pretty nicely, even though it's a little bit busy with those perches. Next up, I'm just going to move in a little closer. It's only so close I can get. He's got some good safe distance there. So I'm just playing with the sun back there. Just trying to see if I can come up with something a little different. Trying some different perspectives, different exposures. Getting lower, trying to get the sun a little bit lower in the frame there. But you can see how his shape is just kind of messy and blends in with all of that busyness around it. It's not the best. I love the clouds up top. You know, that's really cool. Like, everything else is working about it. It's just the perch. If that was like a dead snag or something like that, oh, it would have been epic, you know? It'd be really good. Also, if he wasn't, like, hanging his wings all weird. So here we go. I'm going to line back up with the sun again, I think. No, actually, I'm moving away. Oh, yeah. I went back to check out just, like, the fog in the background. and see if that looks a little better. Because see how there's better separation here? It's not quite that same clump of stuff that he was tangled up in or blending into before. Because it's a silhouette, I'm not seeing any separation, you know, with lightness or darkness. Everything's black. The perch is black, the bird is black, that sort of thing. So moving left and right to try and find better openings is good. All right, here is where I'm going to walk in on the other side here. We'll see if we can kind of get some kind of light on him. I was looking for rim light, maybe trying to line up with that clump in the background there. Let's see how that looks through the lens. Yeah, there's not enough back there. You can see how I can actually get some exposure on the bird now that I'm putting him against that darker background. But the bottom half is light from the water. There's still a light band at the top. I don't even know why I'm pressing the shutter at this point. Just hoping maybe something will come out. But as always, right, it pays to just keep moving around. Once you have one of those shots that's, you know, the same thing, like instead of doing the same thing over and over again, just mix it up, look around, see what else you can find. So I'm going to head over this way, see if I can get more light on the bird's face. Let's see what that looks like through the viewfinder. I can get more light on his face, and now we can see his pose a little bit better. But I don't love the background. It's a little bit busy, and it's putting light on those perches, and they're not pretty, you know. So I took 1 or 2 frames there, and then back we go to looking into the sun again. So more squinting time. Don't you guys just love how out in the middle of nowhere this is? Just right next to a highway, but that's where the birds are, you know. So that's what I ended up doing. All right, so back to messing with that sort of fog line. There, he's flapping. It would have been nice if I was ready for that, but I wasn't. I'm trying to line him up and see what it looked like. You saw that bright sun at the top. That wasn't good. So I'm going to go a little bit lower again here. And let's see if we can get him up in the sun. See what that looks like. Watch my step so I don't fall off. And then I'm actually going really low. Now I'm using the flip screen. You can't see it, but I'm holding the camera down low because this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to place him right in the sun there. And I couldn't do that by looking through the viewfinder. So I'm just holding the camera low, looking at the flip screen, adjusting some settings, a lot of negative exposure compensation. Check out the glow around his head. I'm trying to line it up so his head is like right in there, but look at that glow that you get around it. It's kind of cool. But again, look how messy that perch is. It just sucks. It's really unfortunate that the perch is so bad and just so busy, you know, because these shots I think would be really cool without that. But again, he's also posed really weird. So using the tools you have to try and get different perspectives is cool. Being able to use that flip screen to get really low when you otherwise can't is helpful. I moved up now and placed his head right in the sun. So I'm just waiting for the profile turn, but it turns out I blew focus on them because it's really hard to focus that way. And it's really hard to see if you're off just a little bit because I'm looking at a screen that's glaring a lot, you know. So look at that placement there. And you can see when I shoot because I'm at f14. So it kind of closes down every single time. So we're just going to sit there and wait. Try and focus again. Get a good composition. So I'm trying to minimize that stuff at the bottom, right? Since I don't like that junk, let's crop most of it out. I'm not doing a very good job here, but come on, Ray. Cheat it up a little bit. A little higher. And now we're just waiting for him to turn. And he's just looking out the other way the entire time. It's so funny. That's where I blew the focus right there. I should have stayed where I was. But I think I noticed it. I'm trying to fix it. Just not doing a very good job at fixing it. It's so funny. It's easy to see here because it's larger and you don't have sun glaring in your eyes. But when you're looking at the flip screen out there, I'm like, yeah, this is close enough. So that's where it does pay to have your eye in the viewfinder. Yeah, I took one more and then I think I just gave up on that. But hey, I was at least trying to get creative, right? And that's the key sometimes. Just try these different things. You can see what parts of it work, what parts of it don't. And then you can apply that the next time you go out and have a similar set of circumstances or scene, you know, or similar lighting, stuff like that. All right, back up here, trying to play around with the bright sun reflecting off the water. It's just a mess. It's too disjointed. There's light, dark, light, dark. I put his head right in the sunspot there and try to get that silhouette, but I still don't love it. And this is what I do a lot, everyone. I experiment, I try different things, different compositions, different settings, different locations, see what works. Sometimes it just looks really good when you get back. A lot of times it doesn't. All right, back to this. Look at that nice clean background now. There we go. I did edit some of those things out in post, as you can see, but a nice clean shot otherwise, and just a pretty scene overall, even with his wings hanging down like that. So I'm really happy with that one. And then I went a little wider, went a little darker with the exposure. Again, just to reiterate here, change it up, try different things. Don't keep shooting the same thing over and over again. Unless it's amazing. Like if something is amazing and there's cool behavior, then by all means shoot it over and over again. But if you're just experimenting with different portraits and the bird's just sitting there, try to keep changing it up. If you have a zoom lens, zoom it. If you have a prime lens, physically move. Change your perspective, get further, get closer, try different exposures, point into the sun a different way. You know, just try it all, move around and see what works and see what doesn't. So you can see the sun's starting to get brighter now. It's still really low, so I have some really good directional light, but it's getting brighter. It's getting really intense. There was very little humidity that day, and so even once that fog cleared out, even with the fog, it was low humidity. Once that fog cleared out, it just got strong sun really fast. And that was also something that didn't happen the previous 2 days, so definitely made today a little bit more challenging. All right, we're back out here. We got a different subject on the rail. It's Crackle with a snail. He didn't want to hear me. But look at the tracking on this. Look how far it tracked him. It's kind of impressive. All right. I think Snail Kite just went and landed there, but we got another one in flight. Look at us. Plenty of shutter speed now. I'm still using aperture priority because a lot of the times they're flying into that sun. Look at the brightness difference between not in the sun and in the sun. And watch my shutter speed. It goes all over the place. So that's why I'm shooting aperture priority here. All right, he caught one, landed out on the point there, right on the end. All the other people and photographers are gone at this point. So let's go see if we can make something happen. So I'm going to walk down. Again, be cautious, take your time. Try your best not to scare the bird. The nice thing about this location is if they get tired of people, which there's all kinds of non-photographer people here, they just go land on the other perches. But, you know, you don't want to be the one that's constantly pushing the bird. It's not a good thing. All right, so cautious approach. We'll start out from here, see what we got. Kind of a boring silhouette, lots of railing. Nothing really worth shooting here. So I'm going to slowly, cautiously move up just a little bit. See how slow I'm moving now? Really watching his behavior, making sure he stays with eating. Now, I want you to take notice of that reflection in the water. See how bright it is? But look at the edge of it. I can get an exposure on the edge. There it is again. See how insanely bright it is when it's in the middle? But watch this. We go vertical, put him right on the edge of the frame there. And then look, I just start moving. So he's just on the edge, or not he is on the edge. The bird is on the edge, but that bright light is on the edge of the frame. And I start to get the sparkling there. Then I blow focus. Don't worry, I'll get it back. There we go. Now I got him. Wait for the head position to come up each time he lifts. That's what I'm shooting. And then we get that. Pretty cool, right? That's a cool shot in an otherwise very challenging situation. The tiniest move to the left, completely overexposed water, and you don't get it. So whenever you're in a scenario like this, when the light is really, really bright, work the edge of it. At that point, I was going to try and silhouette him in the middle of it, but he finished eating, went over here and grabbed another one just like that. So it wasn't me, you know. It was time to eat again. And then watch this. Right back to the railing. Like, what an amazing bird. Super cool. All right. So this time I'm going to see, I noticed the palm trees back there, and I'm like, let me see if I can incorporate them. So lower, vertical, there we go. It didn't work. It still shows too much railing, though. That's what I realized in the end. But at least I was trying it. Conceptually, that's what I was trying. Let's try and include some habitat that places the bird in Florida, you know, that sort of thing. But it just didn't really work out. So now we'll get up a little bit higher, closer to the railing, trying to make sure the trunk doesn't intersect him. So look, I'm cheating myself out to the left there. Waiting for him to lift his head up and have good light. Going wider. So there's a decent composition, but it was just too much railing and too much other urban junk back there. So it didn't work out in the end. But conceptually, something worth trying, right? Look at him staring at me. All right, so at this point, I realized the palm tree thing wasn't working out that well. I was just going to come in a little bit closer, try and get a nice frontlet shot. I don't have any good frontlit portraits of him yet. Look at that gross snail. He's shredding that thing. Pretty cool to watch. And look at the color on this bird. So watching the behavior. If he keeps going down to feed, he's comfortable. And then he completely ate, so that's good. I'm shooting away. Down it goes. And now it's like, wait, line up, put him in the green, get a little water, a little ruffle on the head, good light, turn towards me. There's my portrait. All right. That's how that works. And then off he goes. I think, does he fish again? I think he did. No, maybe not. He was just flying around at that point. Let's see where he goes. Such a friendly bird. But that was basically the end of it right there. The light got really harsh. After that, I was like, let me leave this bird alone, number one. And number two, the light's really harsh. So it was basically time to just kind of head out. I'm just going to watch him fly around a little bit more, see if he's going to do anything interesting. I think he went over to this side. I can't remember if he fed again or not, but we'll see. He's swooping, flying in front of the traffic. Yep, down he goes. Grabbed another one. Look at that. He's really efficient. That's for sure. And then off he went to his messy perch over there, and that was a wrap.